This is a thinking of playing video on Saratoga GMT game designed by Mark Miklos, Volume 1 in the Battles of the American Revolution series. So we're talking about the 1977 decisive battle of the American War of Independence. So I've set up the battlefield. This is the center of the battlefield with respect to the action and the key terrain, this being Freeman's Farm. Over here we've got Morgan and Dearborn at near Chatfield Farm, where this track crosses the Middle Branch. And over here we have the Arnold and basically the American left on Bemis Heights. So I've got the rest of the American forces here. Bemis Heights, we've got Lincoln back here. Got Gates here with the Light Dragoons and Kosciuszko. Then we got Arnold's wing and Gates' wing holding the Bemis Heights line. Forward here we've got, also from Arnold's wing, we've got the 9th Massachusetts on this knoll here. In game terms, well, upslope. So on that knoll. And forward of the Bemis line defenses, we've got the on the Hudson River there, got some artillery and 6th Massachusetts. So this is at these are earthworks. Field works. Okay. Right there on the south side of the Mill Creek. And on the British side, coming up the Hudson, by the Wilbur Basin, got Phillips with some infantry, heavy artillery, the seamen, and boatmen. And then here at Freeman's Farm, reserve artillery unit. And then over here, the bulk of the British Army in 2 stacks on this track that heads from the River Road. This track that's going to go southwest towards Freeman's Farm that way. So we got Fraser and a bunch of troops, including Canadians, New York Loyalists, Native Americans, and German units. And back here we've got Burgoyne and what looks to be kind of the main British regulars, 20th, 62nd, fighting 9th, and 21st Fusiliers. Looking up here on the turn track, we know it's a British turn only, 08 AM. It's all red as a cue to remind us that it's only a British turn, and there's fog question mark. So we're going to check for fog. Okay, right on the map we've got our fog table. Before, so this is turn 1, before the initiative player's turn. That's the British player's turn. We rolled a die, got a 3. Check the game turn 1 table column here. 2 to 7 is moderate fog. Moderate fog means no units may use strategic movement and no unit may conduct fire combat. So no strategic movement. We know that we're just going to be concerning ourselves with normal movement. We know that the main British Army in 2 stacks is already on the track here We know they're going to move forward towards Freeman's Farm, or possibly also maybe, Mill Creek generally. But first thing is to figure out what stacking is, because this big stack, I'm sure, it sure looks like it's overstacked. So concerning base rules, we're talking up to 6 friendly strength points of infantry, light infantry, militias, or mounted cavalry, plus 1 friendly artillery unit regardless of size. Leaders and markers do not count, and these stacking limits apply at all times during movement and retreat. So British movement phase, yeah. So I'm not sure this is really right. It looks a little funny. I think it looks funny because I basically had to even retrograde a unit. So this unit had to move back 1. These ones didn't move at all. These ones didn't move at all. And all of that is because all I was doing was, not all I was doing, essentially what I was doing was taking care of the overstacking. Again, I'm not sure that's right, but anyways, I'm leading with my light units. So for example, see right there already, that's 6 strength points. So even though it's 2 units, it's 6 strength points, so that's the stacking limit for that hex on the track. Got 4 strength points. Got Fraser with the artillery and grenadiers. Yeah, here. So that's a pretty hefty stack as well. The Germans all together, the militia and auxiliaries. Auxiliaries, anyways, together. Burgoyne here with artillery and some foot. So again, even though I'm trying to move out towards Freeman's Farm, really, I'm also just spreading out to not violate stacking limits. Now, what's unusual here is maybe because of the fog, but actually there is an 80% chance that there's going to be fog anyways on this first turn, so there's only a 20% chance that we would be able to use strategic movement. Yeah, by my calculation, there's a 20% chance there's no movement at all. There's another 60% chance that there's no strategic movement. There's only 20% chance that it's going to be a normal turn that includes the option for strategic movement. So anyways, that's what I did. I'm trying to observe the 2 strength point stacking limit per hex. 2, I'm trying to move out in an order that makes sense for getting into combat formations farther south when the British and Allies get in the vicinity of American units for combat. So I don't think anything more is going to happen on turn 1. So we're going to advance the turn marker to turn 2. It's still a British turn only. We have British reinforcements here. I guess I'll go in order here according to what's on the turn track here. So all of these reinforcements, it looks like all Germans under von Riedesel, including some artillery. They come on. We're on the northern side of the battlefield on the river road. As the river road exits the north side of the map, there's a hex here, hex 2031, labeled with a B, large B. Reinforcements, I guess they start in the hex, and I believe they start in the hex at the start of this turn, and they all can use their full movement allowance in this movement phase of this turn. There is no prorating a movement point cost as they enter the map. Now we're going to check for fog again. There is a second column for game turn 2. By the way, it's automatically clear if game turn 1 was clear. There's also -1 die roll modifier if the first turn was dense fog, but we only had moderate fog for turn 1. For turn 2, we have a 7. That is clear. Okay, so for turn 2, -1 would have been dense fog. 0 through 4 would have been moderate fog. 5 through 9 is clear. So we rolled a 7, so it's clear. Yeah, so basically go to the British movement phase again. British movement phase, and now we can use strategic movement, which looks to me to be essentially a double movement allowance. Okay, so what's important for strategic movement is that they're going to get double their movement allowance, and as long as strategic movement moves only by or along their entire movement along roads or tracks, so tracks or road, and they do not begin or move adjacent to enemy units at any point during the movement, and also creek fords like this one do not impede strategic movement. All right, so the decision this early in the battle anyways is to have Fraser take this lead, have Fraser take this lead force here and go follow the track here and basically around here and come up here to Freeman's Farm, or continue on here around to Chatfield Farm and have Burgoyne and the Germans also follow the track this way, but then go east and southeast down here, and then when they get to this central point, they can either go that way, or they can come this way to Freeman's Farm. So that's the general scheme of maneuver. So I'll see how far I can get in this turn. So the general theme here was some bottlenecking, not a lot, but some bottlenecking. Kept the bulk of the British and Allies movement to here, with some units here, up here, having ability to break ahead a couple hexes. But basically back here, there's the point that there's no overstacking at any point. So there could be some shuttling units, but really it's the 3 movement allowance of the artillery. So I've got artillery back here, got artillery here and here and here. So basically the main column is being held up by primarily the artillery and secondarily a little bit by bottlenecking due to the stacking limits. Okay, that's the end of turn 2. I'm going to go to turn 3. You know the Americans automatically have the initiative. This is the 10 a.m. turn. And at this point, it's probably a good time to mention I had some things wrong. All right, so it makes a lot more sense now that some units that I had on the board, some units that I've already mentioned, are not used in this normal game, the standard game. They're only used in the quote-unquote next day scenario, which is not what I'm playing. I'm playing the base game, the normal game, so I'm taking off of the board. I mentioned Lincoln at some point. So he's not, I'm taking him off the board. Warner and all of these 3 units are not coming in. I had them on the turn track as reinforcements. They're not reinforcements for the regular battle. And the Kosciuszko at hex 1505 with Gates that I mentioned. Took him off the board. He's not there. And as well, I mentioned Phillips. He's coming off the board. The ad hoc infantry, the heavy artillery, the boatmen and the seamen, they're all coming off the map. They're not there anymore. We're playing the normal game, and now that makes a lot more sense. And I'll go from there. So this is going to be the American turn now. Now that this is the first, American turn, now I need to concern myself completely with all of the movement restrictions with respect to Bemis Heights, Gates, Wing, etc. So I got to review those real quick. So for now, basically, the upshot of it is that there is a Bemis area, what do they call it, Bemis Heights line. There is a Bemis Heights line. Yeah, it's indicated by these small yellow dots. I like it, actually. I mean, you do have to look for them. It's not glaringly obvious, these yellow dots here, and it continues around. But I like that they're not any more obtrusive than this. But yes, there is a Bemis Heights line that basically defines the southeastern part of the map and the battlefield. Gates's wing needs to stay within this, and American artillery can't move until British have individually attacked them in close combat. So American artillery is basically not very mobile at all. And Gates's wing can adjust within the lines here, within the Bemis Heights line. But basically, for the most aggressive action, I'm basically looking at Arnold's wing here, and I can tell that if I'd been at this battle, I definitely would have been in Arnold. And so they're going to move up at least to Chatfield Farm. And we'll look at what else they can do. So as I understand it, this is Morgan and Dearborn here at Chatfield Farm, northwest of Chatfield Farm, at the ford. As I understand it, there are some reasons for Morgan to stay stacked with Dearborn together as a force, so I'll leave them together. Together they are 6 strength points anyways. So they're just going to go 1 hex to the other side of the ford there. For now, they're not going to go too much farther forward until they're reinforced with Arnold's force back here. So the artillery is going to stay there anyways, can't move. American artillery there can't move. As a reminder, movement allowance of 0. Stacked with Arnold are 2 regular infantry New Hampshire units, 1st and 2nd New Hampshire. Together it's 6 strength points anyways, so that makes a nice full force. They have a movement allowance of 4, so 1, 2, cross the ford, 3, 4, to the Chatfield Farm clearing. I wonder if there are any restrictions on the Americans using strategic movement. Okay, so I don't see any reason why the Americans can't use strategic movement. So first thing is I pushed Morgan and Dearborn farther forward, a couple hexes further north. And then I have Arnold and his force doing a full strategic movement of 8 hexes along the track here, crossing 2 fords, which I know is not a problem for strategic movement. This is a clearing. They're coming down slope. I don't think coming down slope is an issue. They cross the field works there, but again, because they're on the track, I don't think that's an issue. I don't think that's anything that would change this move. That was the end of the Americans' turn. They're not going to do anything more, so I flip over the turn marker of the British side, drop it down to the British bottom half of the 3rd turn. There's a reminder there, British reinforcements. So the British side gets Prince Ludwig. Yeah, Prince Ludwig. Okay, so I believe the British side, we're getting Prince Ludwig. Low morale, strength 1 unit. Maybe they're sad because they don't have their horses. And we have a nice, very strong, high morale, 6 strength air prince unit of infantry, and 47th, looks like just straight regular British regulars, strength 3. These are reinforcements, so I assume they also come in on the hex labeled B on the north side of the map, if that's, yeah. So I moved the first British unit forward. This is the British player turn. I placed my reinforcements to the northeast part of the map there. Going to be moving everybody forward along the track here. This almost seems too easy, but then when I'm thinking about the strategic movement rule, but then I remind myself, well, these are 1 hour turns. So I'll go ahead and move all the forces forward and see what type of ground I can cover this turn. All right, so the British forces are definitely getting spread out now. Got that lead force getting ahead some more. Got Fraser's force here coming up with the cannons. Burgoyne starting to head off around to the southeast along the track. Basically British in the lead, Germans second in the route of march there. And I went ahead and this turn's reinforcements, I'm just going to send them down the river road, and then 2 forces can link up somewhere around here. I'm leading with the regular British. Right behind is the really strong German unit, and trailing is that weak and low morale German unit.